Okay, so hi everyone. Now we're back, and we already initiated the kubectl. Okay, so our cluster is running, and now we're going to learn about the first topic after a cluster is running. So now we know what control panel is, how to install Kubernetes, how to install Minikube as well, and what exactly is kubectl. Okay, so now we're going to talk about pods. As you can see on the screen, I'm just gonna erase this. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to talk about pods. So by the end of this video, you will learn about what exactly a pod is and how we can create one. Okay, so pod is the smallest unit of Kubernetes. Okay, and a pod generally contains one container. Okay, some configuration, and then we have network information. Okay, and Kubernetes does not run it directly. Okay, run pod directly. Okay, so now what we just understood is pod is like a smallest unit in Kubernetes. Okay, so if a container, so I'm just going to give you a very small example. For example, is like if a container is a box, so a pod is basically like a delivery truck carrying that box. So if this is the container, so this is the container, so this is the box, and then we have the truck with us. So I'm just going to create a truck. So this is the truck that is carrying this box. Okay, so the container is a box, this one is the container. Okay, and the pod is basically the delivery truck carrying the box. So this is the pod. Okay, so before we even touch any YAML file, let's just first run a pod using one command. Okay, so before we dive deep into it, what exactly that command is, first we are going to go to the documentation of the official website. So as you can see on the screen, so if you go to the Kubernetes website, you're going to get this documentation. So pods are the smallest deployable units of a computing that you can create, as I mentioned. Okay, it's the smallest unit. So a pod, as in a pod or Wales, a P pod, is a group of one or more containers with shared storage and network resources. So the definition that I gave you is like a very easy one. Okay, you can also look forward to the website. So as you can see, we have different variations as in pods as well. Pods that run a single container, pods that run multiple containers. Okay, that need to work together. So this is like the whole structure of a pod. This is a YAML file. We are also going to write our own YAML files in the future, but for this one, we are going to just create pod in the most easiest ways possible. Okay, so this one is like a very manual step that they've given, but what we are going to use is we are going to use kubectl. Okay, so now let's just go here and let's just start already. As you can see here, I'm having my terminal open, so I just type in kubectl. Okay, do you remember, like, we already initiated kubectl, so we have to make sure that each and every command starts with kubectl. So I type in kubectl run, and then I name my pod as my first, and then dash pod. Okay, and then dash dash image. So we have to define an image, so everybody knows what an image is, right? Because I'm pretty sure that if you're doing a course for Kubernetes, you already know what are Docker images. So as you can see on the screen, kubectl run my first pod dash dash image is equal to ngix, and then press enter. So now what you can see on the screen is the first pod is created. Okay, so let's go. what exactly is happening. Okay, I'll show you. So now what exactly is happening is kubectl pulls the image and creates a pod, and also starts a container. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you uh, about if the pod is running or not. Let's just see how to do that. So if I just go here, kubectl get pods. So as you can see, these are all the pods that are you know here. So as you can see, we have error image pull. So this one is not running in my case. Okay, so if I just go here and type in kubectl describe pod, so what exactly right now we are using. So in order to check what exactly is inside the pod, in order to check what is inside a pod, we use describe. So we use this command describe. Okay, so how do we use it? So describe basically helps us to know what exactly is inside the pod. Okay, so kubectl describe pod my dash first and then pod. Okay, and then I press enter. So we have a very long list in front of us. Okay, so here what you can see is it will explain us which image is used. Okay, and then the status as well. So as you can see here, the node is defined. This is the name of the pod. The namespace is also defined. And if I go down, 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 the image is nginx, the image that we defined. Okay, so right now it is also going to show the status. The state is waiting. Okay, reason image pull off back. So the problem is it is not able to pull off the image, but with this we have a pod created. Okay, so what we can do is if we just type in kubectl port forward and then pod backslash my first pod and then 8080 colon 80. So as you can see, unable to forward port because pod is not running. Okay, so what we can do is if I just go back and then see which pod are running. So we have a pod, this one is running, my K8 apps. So let's just use this one. I'm just gonna paste the name here. Okay, so this is a previous pod that I created and it is already running. So as you can see, now it is being forwarded to the port 8080. Okay, so how do we do that? Now if I just go here and open a new tab, local host backslash so as you can see, welcome to Nginx. If you see this page, the Nginx web server is successfully installed. Working, further configuration is required. Thank you for using Nginx. So as you can see, the image has been pulled. So even if I describe this pod, the one that I created before, we can do that as well. So I'm just gonna stop this, press Control plus C on the keyboard, and then if I just go here and then go to describe pod and I'll just change the name. So as you can see, this is the name. Okay, and then it's running, the status is running, and this is the image Nginx that we mentioned. Okay, although the pod that I mentioned before is not able to pull the image, but these are the pods that I've already made in the past. Okay, so this is how you make a pod, and now we're going to talk about how do you delete it. Okay, so you can delete it as well. So we can delete the pod also. So, but before we dive deep into it, I'm just going to tell you how can you delete it. So, how do you delete the pod? Okay, so in order to delete the pod, we basically use the similar command. Is basically, we all know that we are using kubectl again and again. So it always starts with, like, you have kubectl get pods. So as you can see, this is the port forward one, and this is the describe pod. Okay, so it's nothing. You have to, instead of describe, you mention like delete, delete, and then because we just created this one and this one was not running, so let's just check. So if I just delete this one, so as you can see, pod, my first pod is deleted. So now if I just do the kubectl get pods and I just press enter, so what you can see is in this list that pod is not there anymore. Okay, so this is what pods are. And now if we just dive deep into what we just did, so we now know, now you know what a pod is or what pods are, because at the same time multiple pods are also running, and I'll tell you in the next one what I mean by multiple pods and what exactly helps when multiple pods are running, what exactly is the benefit. So now you know what pods are and how do you describe it, and then you also know how do you delete it. Okay, and we also did pod forward to a port. So what we did overall is we created a pod, we did a forward of the pod to a specific port, and we deleted the pod as well. And just keep this in mind, this is very important, that in each and every command, kubectl is the one that is the most important. So from this it begins. Okay, so this was all about this specific session, and we will learn more about in the next one. Thank you so much.